Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. It's time to look ahead to the waiver wire for this week in Major League Baseball, and Welsh and I are going to begin with Chase DeLauter of the Cleveland Guardians. Now, DeLauter continues to just rake at AAA since his return from injury. He's now 27 games into the season at AAA, 4 homers, 16 RBI. The slash Welsh, 303, 412, 505 with a 917 OPS. Clearly, things have gotten off to a really good start for him, and clearly the Guardians offense could use some more help. So, Welsh, I want to add DeLauter this week. He is still available in 70% of leagues currently on CBS. Your thoughts on what you've seen so far from Chase DeLauter? Once upon a time, a very highly thought of prospect. Injuries have slowed that train a little bit, but it looks like all of a sudden we're back on track with Chase.
I've got a post All-Star game. It's going to come out like right before All-Star, but it's like the post All-Star prospects to stash article that's going to be on Fantasy Pros. We kind of do a segment every week, but this is an article. Chase DeLauter is 100% in the top 5 of guys to pick up right now because health is always his issue. Guy's always hurt. He's not right now. He has had a full month to finally get going, and he has. He's coming off of hitting 338 in the month of June. Phenomenal. More walks than strikeouts. You got 3 homers, 3 doubles, so you got some extra base hits in there. Just started off July with a couple more hits. He has a tremendous ability to make contact. He's got a little Mike Trout and how he doesn't quite finish at the end, come all the way around how Trout does. There's big power, big exit velocities. He can steal some bases. The walk rate makes him really interesting in how he's not going to be a strikeout problem, and you could almost throw him up high in an order pretty early on. And I think he's going to thrive. That left-handed pull side for the Guardians at home has been a great spot, and I think he's going to hit some homers there as well. So I think you want an offensive boost. There's no reason they're going to hold down DeLauter too much longer. I think it's a great time to stash, pick him up. He's going to be up there. Hopefully you're not playing in a system where, the guy has to make it to the majors before they're available. I think it's a really good time because I think right after the All-Star break, we're going to see DeLauter.
Also, a guy available in 70% of leagues, this one qualifies at catcher, is Kyle Teel of the White Sox. Over his last 25 at-bats, he's hitting 360 with a 448 on-base percentage, a 520 slugging. Now, look, he is not going to light up the home run board necessarily, but I do think there's more power than what we've seen from him so far because we haven't seen all that much. But at the same time, if you're in a points league right now, this is a guy that gets on base, fills up the stat sheet. I think he's finally getting comfortable at the big league level. And if you're having trouble at catcher, like Austin Wells is dealing with that finger issue, like Kyle Teel might be a guy that you want to stash now because who knows? Wells could go on the IL. Some other catchers, it might not be performing as well as they were over the month of May. On June, some of those guys took a bit of a nosedive. So I think Kyle Teel is a guy worth adding, the crown jewel, as it were, of the Garrett Crochet trade.
Teel falls in that range where it's like, it's a dicey catcher. Like, is he enough to be a starting catcher in fantasy? And he kind of might be because we've had, Sean Murphy just kind of at this point. Francisco Alvarez has kind of fallen off.
Down.
Yeah. I mean, Adley's hurt. So when you start to look at it and you're like, all right, is he going to be worth it? The batting average and contact skills alone make it that exciting. The only thing you don't like is that he's sharing time with Edgar Caro. What you'd love to see is for him they've talked a little bit about like maybe he'd play first base, DH a little bit more, get both of those guys out there because it's already a 12% barrel, 42% just about hard hit rate, which is great. He's getting the ball in the air and he's hitting all pitch types. He's not just like a fastball only guy. He's hitting over 300 against breaking and fastballs. So makes really good decisions. We'll probably see some power come in here in the near future. It's a little Drake Baldwin-y. Drake Baldwin, he's like the whole season, I think it was like 5 homers, hasn't really had this like big, crazy offensive counting output, but he's been really worthwhile. I think Teel falls into the same range. The only thing holding him back from being like a no doubt, like a Drake Baldwin, is that he's just sharing some time, but he's a pretty good investment off of those like lower catchers that are floating out there. So I like this one.
And also, I mean, Kyle Teel was working out at first base in the minor leagues. So if he
we're just waiting for him to do it.
If he hits, and continues to hit, they're going to find ways to get him in the lineup. Trust me, it's the White Sox. 2 more guys to talk about here. Both of them already got the call for the big league teams. Colby Thomas, the first one of the Athletics. Let's discuss him. 13% rostered on CBS currently. He slashed an incredible 297, 365, 542 with a 907 OPS, 17 homers, and 70 RBI in 76 games. Not much else for the 24-year-old to do in AAA. Now, those were PCL numbers, but the road PCL numbers, it wasn't just his ballpark there. It was outside as well. He was hitting everywhere he went to. And now he gets a chance to bring his game to the big leagues. The problem is the logjam in the outfield. So how aggressive would you be on Thomas, considering, again, playing time might be a bit of a challenge here, at least on the onset, unless we see the Athletics start to make some moves and jettison some pieces here?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be like hyper aggressive on him until we start to get some confirmation where they want to play him every single day. I think they're talking a little bit of platoon right now. He would go, he's on a short side of a platoon if he were to be there, since he's a righty. So you're probably not going to see him like in a ton of games, but the ballpark is really great. He's got really tremendous power. You mentioned 300 at bats, 17 homers, 900 OPS. There's a big offensive profile in there. And I'm more from a fantasy perspective, I'd rather have him over Denzel Clark or JJ Bleday. I just don't know if the team is going to want that just yet. I think he's a guy you keep a really close eye on. Deeper leagues, maybe you do pick him up, that he kind of takes over a little bit in the outfield moving forward.
Another prospect who came up, this one with the Colorado Rockies, just 5% rostered. So if you need outfield help, maybe he could be the answer for you, is Yanquiel Fernandez. Right now, if you're looking at the AAA numbers for him with Colorado, 64 games, hit 284 with a 347 OBP, 502 slugging, 849 OPS. Now, 13 homers is great. 39 RBI is great. It's not going to steal you any bases. But again, Fernandez is a guy that seems to have cut down the strikeouts a little bit. He has some power, and we'd love to see power flash again in Colorado. It seems to have been a bit of a power outage for that team this year. Tolia back up hitting. Fernandez now up there too. So what's your assessment of Fernandez in redraft leagues?
He was a really big potential power prospect a couple years ago. He was like a 20-year-old that hit 20 homers in the minors, and then things started to fade a tiny bit. No, the K percentages have dropped, but the batting average, the quality of contact went down. He hasn't really had these big homer outputs. He had 12 homers last year in 122 games. But I think also like the profile of who he is starting to alter a little bit this year. And it's really interesting too, because, he's like a big guy, big bat. He's down to a 15% K percentage he had in AAA, which is massively impressive. He hit 284, but I'm not sure where the profile is right now. So check this out. In 2024, had a 3-degree launch angle, kind of bad EVs in general in AAA. The EVs and the hard hit rate didn't really change this year. 88 average exit velocity in AAA, not amazing. 37% hard hit rate, that lacks a lot. But an 11-degree launch angle, he tripled his launch angle this year, and that's probably going to be a big key for him. I think he can put up some bigger hard hit numbers. If he's getting the ball in the air, making good contact and not striking out in Colorado, he's all of a sudden going to become fantasy relevant. So again, this is a deeper league play where I'm looking at Yanquiel if they're going to give him regular playing time. But they have messed with us with all these different outfielders, from Jordan Beck to Zach Veen. They just keep throwing these guys out. And hopefully this is the one they throw at the wall that sticks. But I do like the power potential. He's only 22 years old. Feels like he's one of those guys that's 22 going on 30, like post-hype type of prospect. But I think him, Colby Thomas, those are guys to keep a close eye on if they're getting regular at bats, because they both have really good power, and the offensive home for Yanquiel Fernandez makes him the most interesting.
Before we get to some of the arms to add this week, don't forget about the waiver assistant. If you're struggling with waiver wire decisions in your fantasy league, don't! The waiver assistant is here to help you. Just sync your leagues for free at FantasyPros, and you'll get personalized waiver suggestions tailored to your roster and your league settings. So if you're getting close to that championship, you need to get yourself over that hump. Let us help you do that with all of the tools of Fantasy Baseball My Playbook. Download the app, Fantasy Baseball My Playbook, today, or visit fantasypros.com/MLB My Playbook to gain the edge on the waiver wire and all your league mates right now. Let's start with Trevor Rogers of the Baltimore Orioles, 38% rostered, and he has been terrific so far for the Orioles. 4 starts, a 2.05 ERA. He only has 1 win to show in those 4 starts, but 18 strikeouts over 22 innings. The whip is under 1. Trevor Rogers, once upon a time, another guy who was a big-time starting pitching prospect in the Marlins system. Things just really didn't work out for him. Injuries, development issues. Now he finds himself in the Orioles, and all of a sudden he finds himself, I think, as a viable candidate as a streaming pitcher. And I want to add Trevor Rogers because I still believe in the talent. He's still just 27 years old. I think finally something might have gone the Orioles' way this year. I'm not saying I feel confident in every single matchup, but right now in the right ones, I think Trevor Rogers is a guy you want to start and a guy you want on your bench at the very least. What do you think?
I think he definitely is. I think he's moved from that like little, maybe not even like a streamer, but like, that's the type of range, into a guy that you can hold on to. He's upticked his velo. He's added 1.5 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball this year, which is huge. The sinker, it's kind of done the same thing. It went from 91 up to 93. So he's throwing harder, which is getting better results. And one of the crazier stats here too, every single pitch he's thrown has led to an under 200 batting average across the board. Fastball, changeup, sinker, slider, sweeper. There's not one single pitch that is being hit over 200. Now, the expected numbers are telling us a little bit of a different story, and that's where maybe regression comes in. Specifically, his sinker, 188 average with an expected 311. These are more extreme because he's only got 22 innings pitched here. So we'll have to see where he kind of regresses to. But expected ERA overall is 3.20, which is very respectable. He's getting better results. He's throwing harder, and he should stay in the rotation because what else are the Orioles looking at here? I like him as a streamer, and I like holding on to see if this continues.
Adrian Houser, next guy on our list from the White Sox. He qualifies at RP and SP in most leagues. He's 20% rostered. And Houser is a guy that has had, some checkered success. He's not a big strikeout performer necessarily, but he does have a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk rate so far this year. 31 strikeouts, just 14 walks over 14 innings. He's got a sub-2 ERA currently. So he's getting the job done. Again, not a big strikeout guy. He does pitch in the White Sox, but I wonder if maybe some contending team looking for some extra pitching in the back of a rotation might come calling for Houser if he continues this over the next few months. So this is more of a deeper league guy. I know last week we talked about Eric Lauer. This week we're talking about Houser. They're not like the sexiest names, but also if you're in leagues where you have mandatory RP spots and you want to take a 2-star pitcher and put him in there, this could be a viable candidate.
Yeah, so that's interesting you just said that, because I think that's his place where you can sparp him, where he can be a starting pitcher, as relief pitcher. That's where I think his most value is right now, because White Sox, and there's a lot of wins that are going to just be taken away from him simply because of team context. I do like the idea of him going and being a 5th starter on like a contending team if he gets that. But I think if you're looking for a sparp, and Adrian Houser is a guy you can look at. You always love that nickname too.
I just like Spark. Yeah. If you're looking for a spark in your rotation, maybe it's Kumar Rocker. He's been dropped and added more times than you can count this year. He's only 32% rostered currently. And I know the ERA, when you're looking at it overall in the year, is 6.13. But let's take a look at the last 3 starts for Rocker. 6-15 against the White Sox. Got a win, 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Against the Pittsburgh Pirates, again, bad roster. Got a win, 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. But again, against the Mariners on the 28th of June, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. This seems like a Kumar Rocker that is starting to find a little bit more consistency. And because he's got a 6 ERA, look, he's available in 70% of leagues, as he should be. Here's the question for you, Welsh. Do you trust him to pick him up and see what the next start looks like before he has another 2 or 3 good ones, and next thing you know, he's gone?
I think it's the 3 sample size is making me feel good. I do like that. And it's funny because his June numbers, he had that one bad start. So his June numbers are like a 4 ERA, but he did strike out more than his innings pitched. The walk numbers were definitely serviceable, and those last 3 starts are telling us a really good story that I think he's in stream zone. I think against decent matchups, I'm going to play Kumar. Now, am I going to play him versus like the Astros? I might not. I think
against the Padres this weekend, so that'll be another interesting test, again.
Yeah, so if it's the Padres, I would say I'm not picking him up for that. But if he is good again, he goes 5 or 6, gives up 2 earned runs, strikes out 4 or 5, then I think like whatever fix that they've worked with him, especially in AAA, is starting to take effect, and he's a guy that's going to start getting some wins. So I think he's in interesting streamer territory.
All right. One more guy here, Grant Taylor of the White Sox, rostered in 19% of leagues. He seems like the guy right now who is in line for saves for the White Sox, and there might not be a ton of opportunities, but so far in 10 innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, a sub-1 ERA, a sub-1 whip, a 2.70 ERA. Taylor has been pretty good when given the opportunity. Again, not a lot of opportunities for saves, but when you're looking for saves, Welsh, you're trying to find any, Taylor might be a guy that can give you a couple here, at least in the meantime.
I love this one. This is probably my favorite of the list here because he looks elite. He looks like an elite closer, but he's on the White Sox, and that's the unfortunate thing. He's staying here. He's not getting traded. They love him. This is the leverage. They kind of moved him off of being a starting pitcher this year. He made it up before the other guys, Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz. He's got a 28% K percentage with an under 3 walk percentage. Ridiculous. ERA's low. Guys are not getting to barrel up on him. Dude's pumping 99 on his four-seam fastball, dropping a 95-mile-an-hour cutter, and then says, how about an 86-mile-an-hour curveball? So almost 15-mile-per-hour differences. The stuff looks disgusting. The saves will be minimal, but it's good strikeouts. He might get you 1 or 2, on a given week if the White Sox want to, put up any wins. But I love this one. Safer bet in the relief market that at least help you with ratios, and maybe you'll get a few nice saves. But he is the guy in Chicago.
Especially if you're streaming guys like you had Kerkering and you see Strom starting to work in that Philly bullpen, they're probably going to go after somebody else anyway. He might be more of a long-term option as opposed to a guy like Kerkering who could lose that job in the next couple of weeks via trade. So
well said.
I think be proactive here. Again, just 20% rostered basically on CBS. So who are you adding this week? Drop your comments below and you might win yourself a Juan Gonzalez jersey from Pristine Auction. That's right. How do you win it? Subscribe to Fantasy Pros MLB, drop your comments, like this video, and of course, don't forget to ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications so you never miss a piece of content here on the channel. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.